Good morning. Good morning. We're back in the hot seat. Jerry is next to me. We are interviewing some big players with some big plans in Schenectady. So, we bump into them in our daily life or their projects, and we don't always know who's behind it or where we're going. So I'm really excited to meet and talk to, hopefully at length, get as much good nugget information as possible from Steve and Dave. Would you guys introduce yourselves? Tell us how you got here, a little bit about your background, and then we'll get right into it.
Sure. So my name's Steve Streichman. I started it in city planning back in 1999. Actually, before that, I was down on Wall Street, and I made the big jump to come up here, or to come back up here.
Why'd you do that? No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And I started with the city, and I worked 17 years with the city in planning and economic development. I spent 7 years in Troy as the commissioner of planning, doing also the same thing, running the IDAs, working with the land bank a little bit there. And then David hired me to come back here actually last summer to run the land bank, which I had initially created back 10 years before, 11 years now. And so I've been running that since I've been back up here. But I'm a Schenectady native, born and raised here. I love the city, and it's great to be able to contribute and make change here.
Nice.
Yeah, David Ogenkamp, Executive Director, Schenectady Metroplex. Why come back? I came here originally to go to Union College, and I took the train took it to the old, I think some referred to as the Am Shack back in the day, the 1970s style train station. And I think I was always a little bit wired from this. I came from Buffalo, so I always say I've kind of rust in my veins and my blood. I like the Rust Belt. I love places that have history and a great story. And nothing is a better story than Schenectady with, the legacy of GE, Elko, Union College for me. Such a storied long-term institution. So came here, studied at Union College, left, and I also went down in finance for 3 years down by New York City, before coming back to University at Albany, master's degree in urban planning. And when Steve decided to start a land bank, that's when I really started to get to know him a little bit better. I was working on state advocacy for what we determined as smart growth. So, reusing existing city infrastructure, alternate forms of transportation. And I was working on the state policy side, trying to get land banks to be legislated in New York. And it was just great to see Schenectady take the lead in establishing one of the first 3 land banks, right?
First five,
yeah. And then getting the opportunity to come back, and I was introduced to Metroplex as a student at Union. I actually have evolved from intern to executive director, which is
nice.
You can stay around long enough. But it's been a great ride, and I love Schenectady. I love working with the teams here.
There you go. Wow. Those are some beautiful resumes, right, David?
Well, absolutely. But he also mentioned some of the really cool anchors for Schenectady long term. I mean, the American Locomotive Company, ALCO, or General Electric. We used to have these big, beautiful job creations and things to do in these huge factories and just big footprints. And I think it's really cool that we're starting to see new big footprints being built everywhere. I mean, we're going to talk about some of the projects that have happened, but in the last 5 years, I know the casino is obviously a topic.
Yeah.
I was in was it Zoning Board of Appeals? I was somewhere and I listened to that new thing they're going to build, that event hall.
The event center, yeah.
That was
Union
really cool.
College's new hockey arena.
Yeah, I was there when they were talking about that, and they were like, we want to integrate this more into the place, and we just don't want to see only parking lots. So let's talk about things. And it was really cool. We're talking about these big things. We're like, okay, but what's the footprint outside your footprint going to look like if everything is a parking lot? It was just really cool. And I saw in the paper that a new big footprint's going in downtown on Erie Boulevard, right?
With the aquatic center.
The aquatic center.
The county is very involved in trying to take what a great idea for the region. So another part of me going to Union College is I was a swimmer, and then my wife was a diver. So we're we understand chlorine, we understand big pools of water. This region does not have a 50-meter swimming pool. So if you were watching any of the Olympic trials, which was actually held in the Indianapolis Colts football stadium, but that longer pool is a 50-meter pool. It's the Olympic size pool. swimmers use that throughout the summer season called long course. So whenever the kids who are working towards hopefully meeting that goal are need to swim in that type of pool, they have to go to Colgate, or they have to go down to downstate, or they have to go to Boston area. So it has been a regional priority to get a facility that can host those kinds of meets, host the state meets, to be large enough to do the things you need to do. So that is, we're constantly looking at what funding's available at the state level, what the regional priorities are, and we have a great team to move this to the next level and try to get projects done. But you mentioned the transformation of Mohawk Harbor, right? And I think that it is one of the most miraculous transformations of a brownfield site. So a site that had to deal with some levels of contamination they had to clean up. Utilizing the resources that are available, it's a terrific project. And from a Metroplex perspective, which is focused on economic development through the county, while losing an industrial facility there, what we've gained in some of our, we call them our smart growth business parks, technology parks, commerce parks, the level of different manufacturing jobs that, take advantage of some of the great resources that Schenectady has, the access to water, access to great transportation lines. Those are the things we're thinking about. And this county just has so much going for it and so much opportunity.
Yeah. It's great because, they always say, don't go for the big home run project. And what we've got is a bunch of little home run projects between Mohawk Harbor, between the aquatic center, as well as the tech parks we have in the different areas throughout the city. So it's really good balanced development. You're not going to have one big project that if it fails, you lose everything. Mm-hmm. So we just, I think, great investment. Tourism has been really way up since a lot of these projects have started happening. And it's just good to have the balanced approach.
And come to think of it, you kind of look like Michael Phelps. You probably get that a lot.
I have the long wingspan, right?
On a day like this, we should jump into the pool and go for a swim.
Oh, seriously, huh?
A question for all. How does other counties take what Schenectady County is doing and kind of move their cities in a direction where we've seen Schenectady move in the past 5 years, just growth and keeping up with the times?
I'll start with this. We are so fortunate. First of all, we have some great leadership. Ray Gillen has been our chairman since 2004, and he works tirelessly on every opportunity, every deal to just keep going and chasing to get that deal done. And then we've had some great leadership at Metroplex over the years, and then the collaboration with the city, Mayor McCarthy, to make this a very positive place to do business and to bring new opportunity to the city and to the county. Metroplex is a unique tool. It was established in 1999. Some folks push really hard to get a public authority like this set up that has dedicated revenue. So that means that some of these projects that you see that have come, we use the term online, but they're either built or renovating what are some very, very difficult buildings. We have dedicated revenue to support a staff that has worked through challenging projects like this, worked through historic tax credits, work through, dealing with brownfields, dealing with infrastructure challenges. We're able to help coordinate that activity with our partners in the city, and then we have financial resources to assist where needed. So it's a great model. Not everyone has it, but it allows us to do more than just plan. Which as I said, we're planners. We like to create nice plans, but to implement and not just have that plan sit on the shelf.
And we've had, I think, a great community participation through this whole thing. I mean, you go to other communities, you might have infighting, going back to 1999, even before with Schenectady 2000, with the community coming together and being a part of this community and helping get Metroplex created. And then you have your base group of people that will come and support projects either with the Planning Commission or the Zoning Board or even at Metroplex. And so I just think the community togetherness here is really key to being able to move projects forward. And yes, I think since Ray Gillen's been here, the projects he's able to do and keep the momentum going has just been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So some of the bigger projects that I'm seeing, like the Wedgeway building, they're adding a whole bunch of vertical height there, right? And if you have the same square footage and you go vertical, you're adding density. So what are we going to be looking at if that's the trend that Schenectady keeps going? In fact, our last our guest Tika was here, and his goal is to build the first skyscraper in Schenectady. He wants 15 floors. That's a great dream. It's a great goal.
Yeah.
It needs a lot of parking. So as we talked earlier, and you said Dave, you mentioned that some of your education was in infrastructure, right? We are in the town of, the American Locomotive Company. We think of General Electric. They built locomotives, I believe, as well. They still build generators. Have worked on GE generators in nuke plants. So, was that in Westinghouse, I think? Are we going to see, is there any chance as density starts to grow and these big projects take form and we're building these places where people want to go to for an event, if it's going to be the casino night or if it's going to be, a show or comedy thing where 5,000 people might show up because they're going to have seating for $5,000. Are we going to have a change maybe in our public transit infrastructure?
Well, you have to meet people where they are and the type of transportation they use and offer all kinds of forms of alternative transportation. So, I think one of the great movements that happened early on with Metroplex was taking over the downtown parking infrastructure. So we really pride ourselves on keeping a safe, clean, well-lit, accessible parking lots and the Broadway garage, all managed by Metroplex. So people are still going to drive. We want this area to be accessible for everyone. But yeah, if you're building with greater density downtown, you do want to give people the opportunity to maybe not have the expense of a car. The great things about downtown is it's not only young people living here, but it's empty nesters. It's seniors who might not want to drive anymore. It's a great place to, maybe you were a 2-car family. If you live somewhere else at one point, maybe when you had kids. I have a 4 and 6-year-old. I know the importance of getting them from one place to another. But, we've positioned this downtown where maybe you can go without a car. Maybe you can go, if you're a family of 2 or 3, maybe you can go with 1 car, which is significant money that you save in expenses that you can put into doing the fun things that we have down here, going to theater, going to a show or something else. So, in your point about skyscrapers, so what I've learned in my 10 plus years doing this work in Schenectady is that, as we try to get things that go beyond plan to build, you have to deal with the realities of the place. So we have a tremendous reality of being next to the Mohawk River and having very fertile land here. This is why people establish, communities along rivers. But fertile land means also tough land to build on. So, the cost sometimes of building that, whether it's a slab or whether it's a foundation system, those are the things that we're talking about with developers to make sure that they're moving forward with proposals for buildings that work. A 15-story building is very expensive to get out of the ground. We're very, very happy, for Wedgeway to see density added, taking where the first Proctor's Theater, I think it was, and the State Theater, which was known, that's where that back parking lot was, seeing, infill development built there, but not seeing a proposal that would be so expensive that they wouldn't be able to get the financing they want. Those are the kind of issues we work on.
Yeah, it's a good balance.
Mm-hmm. And just being in this area, I'll put in a plug for Capital District Transportation Authority, CDTA. They have been modifying all of their routes so that instead of having windy routes that go all over the place, they're focusing on trunk lines. So they've got the great bus rapid transit that goes to Albany from Schenectady. It takes 30 minutes instead of the old 1 hour. And they're looking to develop some other ones as well. But we actually have invested in CDTA where they get a set aside, not we, but the whole region, where they get a set aside so they can do planning in advance so that when the grant money comes out, they're ready to implement these projects. And we have some of the few bus rapid transit in the state because this money's been there in advance. But just the ability to go, up and down State Street, up and down, even go to Saratoga and come back, there's a line for that. So I think people will more and more be able to depend on that as the city becomes more walkable. I mean, it's a great walkable city. You don't need a car as much as you did before. The heights of the buildings, I mean, right now you're height limited on how tall you can go with the zoning ordinance, but that's not to say as things change, the zoning ordinance might change to allow for more development. But as David says, most buildings that we see are 5 stories tall. Most of the bigger projects, a steel base and then four floors of wood above that.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had Nora in here maybe 2 months ago. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And we talked about zoning, and we talked about walkable neighborhoods. And one of the big proponents for me is I'd love to see more mixed use, like any major corridor at all. I want to see mom and pop shops, and like I go to the co-op. I'm in Niskayuna. I'm just over the border there, and I go to the co-op just because it's easy. I mean, I don't need 15 choices. Like I don't want that many, right? I don't want to be in analysis paralysis. I'm there for these 3 items, and I'll grab that. And of course, my kids want something else. But the fact that it's been there for 50 years and the shopping carts are cute and small, and I'm not moving a van with no top on,
Right.
to me that's cool, and it's worth a couple extra bucks.
Yeah, the times have changed. I think that's a shopping experience I appreciate as well. Knowing that there is online shopping and other things that some of those bulk orders that we used to have to deal with, at least when we were kids, and our parents would go and fill shopping carts forever. One thing that when Metroplex started, the downtown was in such terrible shape, right? So this was a tool that could be used to invigorate new life, because downtown was in such a state, attracting your chain restaurants, your chain retail was very, very difficult because they all run numbers based on the rooftops around, income, and all this. But it actually, in my opinion, worked out to be for our benefit, because we have all these local flavors and taste and small businesses, the ones where you really want to see that experience when you go. You can buy anything online with a click, right?
Yes, right.
But it's when you want to really enjoy shopping. I mean, J Street is just such a gem right now.
Yeah.
And it's a destination for people to go and enjoy shopping. And whether it's, the open door or, going farther down, I love getting chocolate with Heather there. And it's just a great eclectic group of businesses. And, one project we're working on right now is doing some additional, was funded through the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, some additional amenities to J Street. So, how do you'll see some of those trees, the planters, the tree roots have grown out of them. How do you maybe continue to evolve that space to fit the larger trees, to make it more walkable, more enjoyable? And a big point that we wanted to make was not to do anything that disrupted this great mix of businesses.
Mhm.
And so, we're out to bid right now for that project. But that's the goal, right? Is to just make this place the best walkable experience, whether you live down here, whether you're renting, whether you're coming from the Stockade, or whether you're coming down from Niskayuna and just enjoying a nice day downtown.
Yeah, I find myself often at the farmers market here. It's not the cheap way to go shopping, but it's fun. And I want to go and I want to buy direct from the people who are putting the effort and putting stuff in the ground and cultivating and harvesting and coming. I think it's a great connection piece. I think it's not just in personal, but it's a great way to connect with the food. So there's a lot of things that happen on and around City Hall and emanating from that's just a real cool experience to be part of.
But your point about shopping at the farmers market is what I've really prided ourselves on, and part of this is establishing a land bank and having it come down under the Metroplex umbrella is creating a city for all, right? So people who can come and maybe they're not as focused on the price tag, and they go down to the farmers market and they get specialty items. I'm really impressed with those who run the farmers market who are looking to accept some of the public benefits to be able to get healthy food and do food boxes. And, that's the great work of the farmers market, of the Schenectady Foundation and others. There are so many people working together to make this work for all, right? Work for those who are, can afford cars and come down and park in our facilities. And then also those who are taking the bus, or maybe who live in neighborhoods nearby who are looking for something more accessible. We're doing it all, which it's a real point of pride with the Metroplex team.
David, take us back in time, because Schenectady was never always like this. There was a time where homes were being sold at $1, I heard.
Right.
I was not born and raised in Schenectady, but I moved to Albany 6 years ago, and then kind of been back and forth, and I've seen the growth in Schenectady. But take us back to that time. How did Schenectady get out of that state
And I'll kind of jump in there. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, when I started with the city, I literally had somebody offer me a house in one of the neighborhoods for $1, and I just didn't want it. It didn't look like, it didn't look like.
Did you believe it?
Yeah.
If someone offered me a house for $1, I wouldn't believe it. I would think it's a scam or something. There's a catch to it.
Yeah, well, no, it was just the headaches you get with having problem tenants and vacancies. Everything involved with it was just too much of a headache. And then we started having an inflow of people buying up these houses. So that started to change the neighborhoods. I mean, those same houses that were for $1 now, you can get them for $100,000, $150,000 now. It's quite different. And downtown, when I started, I used to do maps that showed where the people lived, one color for a single family house, a different color for a 2-family house, a different color for an apartment. And when you evaluated that, so much of downtown was white. There was just nobody living there, no business, no nothing there.
Yeah.
So
Not even chocolate?
not even chocolate. There was,
Yeah, very little.
I think there was Open Door Bookstore was Door Bookstore was about it at the time.
Wow.
But so there's been a huge transformation, and I think the biggest part is now seeing these apartments and having people living downtown again. The other notable thing back there was parking. So much of the city was just vacant lots that people were parking on, and slowly those are going away. And it's a good problem to have, is not having, or to be able to not have a lot of parking. You don't want all your lots used with this low value proposition of parking lots that don't generate tax dollars. And as things get built, there's parking underneath. A lot of the younger generation not having cars here, so they're willing to come in and live in these apartments. And it's just good because that's what supports all of our retail. Mm-hmm. And again, there was some restaurants, but until Proctor's opened up in 2000, or not until the expansion opened back up in about 2005, 6 or whatever, and Bowtie came after that. All of a sudden there were people downtown on Sunday. And that was just so nice to see, was you could come here any day. And I always, one of my favorite parts of downtown was always Robb Alley in Proctor's right outside here. Mm-hmm. And it's a little different after COVID, but then you'd come here any time of the day and there was activity in here. There were people buying tickets, people, using the facilities. There were always people in here, and I just always loved that feeling here.
So what you're excited about is what I hope that one day we see on Van Vranken, that any day of the week you see people walking up and down, and you see a quarter of people on their feet or on their bikes or on a trolley, where they're coming and going, and they say, this is where I want to go to these mom and pop shops. I really hope that, with some decent effort, we can see a lot of mixed use where people say, hey, I'm ready to walk here. When you said you saw that big chunk of white, that blight where no one was, so you've seen a transformation here. I'd love to see that in a couple other places where you say, hey, let's go park. We'll walk 5 blocks up and 5 blocks down. And maybe there's a mini Chinatown or a little Italy that has enough attention to grab me. And then I'll go there.
Yeah. And there's the tired corridors, the commercial corridors, Van Vranken, Crane Street, Broadway. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to invest in there, and we're starting to see as well commercial, businesses starting to invest there as well. We have a project just this side of the new Stewart's that will create 37 residential units.
Is that on Van Vranken?
On Van Vranken.
Yeah, working through that. Obviously, it's economic times are challenging, right? As realtors, you understand that with interest rates. But just if you go back to that original start of when we, in 1999, when Metroplex started, and with downtown having been in such a disarray, there was a point where you had to make a decision. Okay, are we going to try to spread Metroplex influence everywhere and do it in a way where you're not really seeing the change that's going to inspire people to invest privately? And I think it was a brilliant idea to focus on one area, which was this block in front of Proctor's. Take care of the blight that you see, actually building by building, and then block by block. And once you establish this strong core, that allowed us to start expanding out. Mm-hmm. And over the 25 years now, it's been not just State Street, but all the downtown. And now we're talking about Van Vranken, where the land bank, again, the state invested a lot of money. It started with the home settlement funds, the mortgage settlement funds in 2008, 2009. Schenectady was smart enough to establish a land bank, get access to those funds, and start removing the blight, because someone might offer you a house for $1, but if you haven't done the math of how much it's going to cost to get it to be code compliant, you could be in for a lot more than that property is worth. We've now got to the point where people can buy properties for, a good value and still make that investment and still get a mortgage and still make it cost effective for their family. The one point that I like to just really, that I feel strong about is that, you have people who say, well, boy, you could have bought a property for $1 and now it's 100, 150, maybe even more. That's a positive sign, right? Because you want this region, you want the city to be accessible and affordable, but you want people's biggest investment to have value as well, right? So if you look at the Hamilton Hill area, where we've done considerable work along the Albany Street corridor, more coming, removing blight along that corridor and down Craig Street. If you look at the numbers, home values have increased there more sizably than other areas where you'd think that home prices would have escalated, whether it's Niskayuna or places outside Schenectady County. That's a good sign, because that means those homeowners who have been there for a while now have value in their properties. That builds wealth for them, builds generational wealth, all those things that we want to see done in this community. Mm-hmm. So it's been good.
And we're a strong believer in building on the momentum. Obviously, the more you do, the easier it gets to do it. Mm-hmm. We used to spend our energy. The one big thing downtown was the Thanksgiving parade back in 1999, and a lot of people would come in, and we would spend all of our energy decorating the vacant windows in all the stores there, so that it didn't look like they were vacant. and if you had a snowy, cold day, there was really nowhere to go during the parade. And now you've got all these bars, restaurants, and everything. People want to be here. I remember being in Zen when it first opened up, and there was a bunch of younger people next to me, and I was asking them, like, just curious, where are you people from? And they came from Saratoga. They came down here from Saratoga.
That's awesome.
And it's been great. But as David said, we're investing more in Branken, Crane Street. We've got with a Metroplex and Land Bank. We helped fund the housing project that's going up there right now, the Mosaic project, which is 57 units.
Just about.
And people are excited to see that happen. And then the merchants got together. We got a grant to put planters, and the planters went up there the other week. So you start to see these things pop. And we have businesses now looking to purchase some of the other buildings there and start investing. So Crane Street, you'll see a great transformation in Crane Street over the next 5 years. And again, in Van Branken as well. And we really need to start looking a little bit at Broadway too in the Bellevue neighborhood. But it's great to see these investments, these kind of things going on, and having neighborhoods where people want to be on the streets again and want to live there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the laser focus in the beginning, because if you want to build critical mass or something that grows, you have to put a lot of energy in one place. And I tell investors the same thing. I'm like, don't buy one in Troy and one in Schenectady and one in Amsterdam. Buy 3 on the same block.
In Schenectady, right?
Absolutely. and I'm like, buy it here, because when you do this house, your other 2 gain value. And when you do those 2, like, now you've made a difference. Like, you're multiplying your gains,
right?
And it's fun. It's rewarding for me to hear that, because that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, there's no reason to spread yourself out and all your efforts have no effect on your other homes. Put all those eggs in one basket and make it like, hey, this is the basket you can't trip with. Yeah.
And like Steve said,
with it.
Hit little home runs. Don't go for the grand slam.
Well, the little home runs he's talking about are pretty grand slams.
Yeah, now, if you look at them as a whole, but they were little when they started planning and having the team and implementing it together. I mean, that's why it almost feels like everyone's catching up to Schenectady nowadays. So when I listen to you both, I hear the blueprint, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, so a lot of counties have land banks, but they don't have a Metroplex aside with them. Is that what other counties are missing?
I think Metroplex made all the difference in the world, and it's hard to create a new Metroplex. We had a lower sales tax at the time, and so it was easy for us to raise our sales tax to what everybody else had and create Metroplex. And it has been the transformative item or organization in the city, and other places don't have that. So
I would just add, the fact that county and city leadership came together and want to work together to clear, to clear the path, to collaborate in a way where Metroplex could be successful. Metroplex is the county's unified economic development team. So through our office, we don't only operate the land bank, we have the industrial development agencies, the Capital Resource Corporation, which helps provide financing for not-for-profit organizations when they're doing capital improvements. So you have a team where if you're looking to invest in a building that needs some help, you can come. We can talk about all the options, and we just try to make it clear and concise, path forward for you to make this investment, and make it a successful investment for you. So it's it's that the leadership wanting to work together has been just so important to what we're doing.
And if you're looking to invest in Schenectady, you know where to go. You know who to talk to. You go to a lot of other counties, they might have a city IDA and a county IDA. You talk to one, you talk to the other, a number of different organizations. And,
Yeah.
and here it's all in one house. You don't have to waste your time. We can put together a good package for a developer. And like I say, it's all in one place. It's easy to do business here.
I want to open that up for a moment. I want to open up what that Pandora's box you just asked. But I guess it's not Pandora's. It's a box of opportunity. So you said if someone was an investor, what size investor is someone you would sit down with? If I'm buying a 2-family home, you probably wouldn't come to you. What size, what's the entry level to come and sit and talk? Because, Jerry and I bump into people all day that, have the resources that they don't know that these options exist. They may not know that, there's a 6 and 7 unit available. There's a off-market 16 unit in Schenectady available. Like, there's some bigger things out there that are home runs for some of these second or third time investors. So can we open that conversation up and say, at what point do we come talk to Metroplex?
We're always here to talk to, right? And, we pride ourselves on focusing resources so that we can hit these, mini home runs, or we can do something like Molokar, where we can do the initial look at a site that might have contamination. So, those are our focus areas, large projects. Everyone can go in and read the New York State laws and read the Metroplex statute. There's things we can't do. We don't do work on single and 2-family homes. That's not a place for Metroplex. It might be a place to talk to the land bank about what their priorities are, if there's buildings being demolished in the area, if there's other investments that are looking to be made to improve the neighborhood. But that's not Metroplex's area where we can actually do work. We're still laser focused on projects that clean up light, bring more jobs to Schenectady. We consider ourselves a bricks and mortar organization, so that means we're looking to put money into the buildings, because businesses can come and go, but if we've improved that real estate can be used for generations. So that's really what we're focused on. Visibility matters to us. So again, these corridors are very, very important, because we want people who live in the community to come and enjoy it. We want people who are coming to visit to see the community and see it as a community that people are investing in and taking pride in.
Yeah, and what David said about visibility, that's a big thing. I mean, sometimes we wouldn't normally invest a lot of money within the middle of a neighborhood, the land bank. However, if you have a lot of vacant land, or if you have a concentration that makes sense to invest in, you can do that. But it's kind of case by case on what they are. But it's highly visible and transformative is really what we're looking for. So one house in the middle of nowhere, probably not likely to do that.
Yeah, the land bank's mission is to take vacant and abandoned property and get it back on the tax rolls, right? Because the more of these properties, whether the city has taken them through foreclosure, maybe they were bank foreclosures, one reason for another, these buildings are not paying what they should in taxes, or they're not paying enough because they're vacant, or there's something else going on. The land bank is focused on trying to take those, bring them back to productive use, whether it's high quality housing, it could be something else. Metroplex kind of plays in the commercial industrial world here. And so our land bank's mostly focused on housing. But it's, we look at all the tools that we have. We call them all of our different tools in the toolbox to figure out what works best. The state has some really terrific programs out there, because if someone says, boy, Metroplex is only doing large projects, or you're only doing rental housing through the land bank. Well, there are other programs that we're aware of. We just need the right kind of investors to do it with us. We fill gaps, meaning that we're not looking to do the projects ourselves. We're looking to help an investor, a developer, come in, put together the bank financing they need to, for example, up on Summit Ave, build 40 new,
41 units.
41 new units of home ownership opportunity, right? Those things there. Live in Schenectady down here on Barrett Street. Again, home ownership opportunities. Those are all, different programs that are out there that we're either, connecting through state resources. Maybe we're doing something local, but it's all just, we use the term OPM, other people's money. Try to bring as much other people's money to the table to take part of this, in our revitalization.
Yeah, but the land bank, for instance, on that other people money, we've gotten $12 million of grants of other people's funding to invest in projects in the last 10 years, and yet at the same time, that's leveraged over 125 million. So it's and those numbers are dwarfed by what Metroplex has done. It's using a little bit to incentivize it, but getting the other money in there to make the projects happen.
Steve, I want to ask you, because Jerry and I deal with city-owned properties, so we see ownership of the city of Schenectady and Surya. Where does the difference? I guess where does the oil and water separate when we're talking about the land bank versus city-owned properties? Like, what's the crossover? What stays separate? Can you enlighten me on that?
Sure. And initially, when the land bank was created, it was to really the concept back then was to take the city-owned properties and be able to sell the good ones and invest in the bad ones. Mm-hmm. But over time, with the state funding coming in, it's really changed, and it's become more of when I have a project, when I have a developer, we look at the city's inventory. So we work really close. We have a great partnership with the city. So we'll look at those properties, and then either they'll come to the land bank, or they will be we'll work with the developer to get those to make a project happen. And there is no real, we're almost like one in some sense when it comes, we're always working with the city on trying to get these projects to happen. Mm-hmm. So the ownership, they own them, they keep them. So the city comes up with some of their own projects that they want to do. They sell them to owner occupants, in their annual auctions, or I shouldn't call them auctions, their annual proposal method to get rid of the properties. But sometimes there's vacant lots or just areas where they keep these properties, and there's really no good idea yet. You're banking them, and the city's banking them basically for future projects.
That's the distinction that I often have, because we tell people, call us, right? We'll talk to you. We'll talk about what your proposal is, and might fit with what we're doing. Maybe it doesn't, but we get a lot of calls of people saying, I want to know how many, what properties are available through the land bank, because maybe they have experience working with the Albany County Land Bank or someone else where they take every single parcel, whether it's a home, a vacant property that comes through the tax foreclosure
and actually
process.
In that whole county they take.
Yeah, through the county. And they own all of them, and they are out there marketing for sale every single property. Because we have Metroplex, and because we've been land banking since 1999, just wasn't with residential properties. We are not set up to own all of those properties. We do this with a very small staff. And the idea is that we're laser focused on having the city get these properties sold to new homeowners, new investors, who are doing a great job renovating and cleaning up the properties. We're trying to take those really, really challenged properties where the math just doesn't add up, or those properties that there's so many proximity to each other, where we can really do something transformational for the neighborhood. So that's kind of the area we stand in.
See, so that's a great point. So I want to segue to when we have investors or clients of ours who want to participate in buying a property through the land bank. What's the process like? What does that look like from start to finish?
Well, I think the first thing is you're going to want to identify your project. So it's not like you come to the land bank and say, what do you have for me? As David just said,
No?
The city has the property,
Okay.
and we can certainly direct them to where we think good investment is.
Okay.
But I think we want to start with the developer having an idea of what their project is that they want to do. And again, as David said, we're there. You can talk to Metroplex. You can talk to the land bank. We're in the same office.
Mm-hmm.
We're basically, we're there, and we would just figure out what the developer is looking for. I can't really just tell you, but we are looking for focusing projects in areas where they're going to make a difference, where they're highly visible,
Mm-hmm.
and where we have an inventory, or the city has an inventory of vacant or underused buildings.
And that's really been the transformation. When land banks first started and the bank foreclosure settlements were happening, a lot of these banks were also transferring properties to land banks, saying we don't have a use for them. In those instances, we would do renovations maybe with Habitat for Humanity or another not-for-profit. So we would have an inventory of properties for that purpose. So usually the answer is we've got about 8 or 9 properties right now. A lot of them are too small to build on, or they're being banked for a future project, future concept. But the conversation we have is, if you're looking for a one and done property, if you're looking to make a property a home, we'll say, hey, just there's some resources out there. I want to make sure you know about this first time homeowners program. I want to make sure you know about this mortgage that can work as a construction loan first. We try to have those conversations with those kind of one and done people. If we're starting to see some of the people who are coming back and they're really playing in this field, we try to talk to them about some of the state programs that are out there where, maybe they've been using, personal funding to do a project, or maybe, non-traditional financing. We say, look, it's a different way of doing things, but there are some state programs out here where you could possibly get into a 20 unit building or 10 two families. The state program is focused on home ownership for this. So this is the way this one works. This one's focused on rental. So we do try to help people if they want to, in our eyes, we see it as kind of scale up, right? Which oftentimes takes a lot more time in the pre-development. You can't just go out, buy a property, not do title and start swinging a hammer. It's more formalizing the process, which some people want to do. Some people don't. We just want to make sure everyone knows that the programs are available.
And New York State has funding available, as David said, for the home ownership programs, and a lot of it's undersubscribed. So there's money out there if for the right person that wants to come in and help develop affordable housing that maybe they're going to sell to owner occupants. And a lot of times it depends on who you are. It might be minority contractors, women-owned businesses that might be more eligible for it. But there is funding out there for construction of new homes and renovation of existing buildings.
And we're more than ready to help people. It's a process though. You gotta decide if you want to take that next leap of faith. We'll be your teammate. We'll help you understand the programs. But it's a different way of doing business.
Yeah, exactly. And the message there is OPM. Use other people's money before you use your own.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge
it's
message.
out there too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Do you guys have what's the upcoming projects you have for the city of Schenectady in the upcoming years?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I want to know what's on the horizon.
Yeah.
Like stuff that is started to start to take form, and then kind of like what's the one next beyond that? Like what's the project? Oh man, I was talking.
Is there a Six Flags coming on the horizon? What's going on?
It's going to be a couple more years.
You want to talk about Up Albany Street? I think that's a great one.
I'll talk about all, but I was going to mention that we are focusing right now. We're trying to do some projects in Mount Pleasant down along Congress Street, infill of the vacant lots there, because we've got really good, as I was saying, Crane Street. So now we want to build off that. We're looking at a project right behind it on Pleasant Street, and the gateway coming in from the Dunkin' Donuts on Broadway. We're looking at redeveloping that with new housing there as well. The big project we're focused on right now is on Albany Street, where there are a large number of properties that were owned by a slum landlord, and we've been working with the city to take those properties and do demolition of those properties, as well as the county had like a $700,000 or $800,000 investment in buying the former Mohawk Honda site to put a grocery store on that location. So we have 4 large parcels right in that general area, 2 on one side of Albany Street, 2 on the other side of Albany Street, that really finish the connection from downtown up into Hamilton Hill. Building on the Hillside View and the Joseph Allen Apartments, and filling in that whole gap where it's really just a wasteland right now. But that will bring, I forget how many units it is now.
I think they're still working on the final unit count, but that's this city council is looking at some zoning changes to help that project move forward. That's incredibly transformational. And I know there's a SCAP campus. Our organization SCAP is looking to do a new project at the corner of Brandywine and State. That's really great to keep getting up in an upper state neighborhood where there's a lot of great small businesses and again, on the transit line, which we like to hear as well. COVID slowed us down after we won the Downtown Revitalization Initiative Award. Over the next year or two, just getting a lot of those projects built and in place. We talked about you love trolleys, but all kinds of alternative transportation. Our bike path, access to the Mohawk Hudson bike path is just it is so important to this community. People love that resource. There's still some gaps in the trail. One of them's over by East Front Street, so that's another project that it was funded by the DRI that we're moving towards building out. The city is working on extending J Street out to Knott Street, which will further the whole DRI program was about how do you take what's the great stuff that's happening downtown and the great stuff that's happening at the harbor and make sure it's a really great walkable connection. And so once you pop out J Street all the way to Knott, there's some great wayfinding signage that there's a design firm that the city is looking to contract with to come in and really make people know that it's not, hey, we're going out to Mohawk Harbor for the night, or hey, we're going down to downtown Schenectady, but further build that connection so people feel like they can safely walk back and forth, and not only safely, but have an enjoyable walk. You go down J Street. I mean, there's so many great, cool businesses there. Civitello's is reopening. Obviously, Pareca's. You got Mopco. It's just further building that connection, which we're really, really excited about.
Mm-hmm. And it's always important to have further looking planning items out there, like the city's working right now on 890, along with DOT, on what to do with that Washington Avenue exit ramp, which really separates the community college off from the rest of the community. So I'm sure that what we'll see over time with that is a major transformation, not only in that exit to probably bring it behind the community college, but eventually there's going to be some reworking of 890 like you see in Syracuse and in Albany, that drive to remove some of these interstates or at least bring them to grade and integrate them more into the community. So to create connections within the city instead of the barriers that these highways have right now.
Any zoos?
You got an aquarium out of
I go to that aquarium 20 times a year.
You do?
Yeah, how many birthday
I haven't
parties
been there
do you
yet.
go to?
I sit 2 in a year.
There you go.
Both yeah.
It's a nice attraction. Look, the cool thing is that there's attractions for people of all ages here.
Yeah.
What they've done down at the Armory with some of these events from Monet to Van Gogh, and now the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are huge, right?
I did 2 out of 3 of those.
There you
Yeah.
But it's Schenectady has really turned into an incredible destination. Discover Schenectady, our tourism arm, is just doing a tremendous job getting people into hotel rooms. The great thing about the event center is because of that at Mohawk Harbor, we're getting another hotel on that property as well. And we're getting. That's what you want in this downtown. You want people working here. You want people living here, playing here, visiting here, and we're doing it all.
Yeah. Outside money brings outside money.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So the more often you can get people to come here, the more often they're going to be like, I should buy or get a little apartment here because I love the extension of J Street or the walkable Van Vranken. Or, I mean, every time you put a good memory in someone's heart saying, hey, this is why I come here, they're going to say, well, why don't I just live here? Why don't I invest here? Why don't I become part of what I love about this area?
Mm-hmm.
And
we're talking a lot about the future, and I'm going to bring this up in a future conversation. Also, GE's investments, GE Vernova, that they're making on their campus, it's tremendous. It's the separation of the GE companies. GE Vernova is the power business. That is game changing. I was on the campus recently, and just to see the work they're doing in renewable energy at the downtown campus is amazing. You take your bike up a little bit farther, and the investments they're making at the R&D campus in Niskayuna, carbon capture is a new building that they're doing to prototype that. A really game-changing technology we've had in the past at GE. It's coming again, and most importantly, they're hiring more people, and they need more people to work on this technology.
And also, most importantly, as GE grows the power, the renewables, you have other firms come here that want to be close to them. So we've got a lot of new businesses in the Glendale Technology Park, even downtown, businesses that are coming here because GE's investing here.
And we're getting into the ribbon cutting time again. Last week, MTX Proctor's was nice enough to welcome them on the marquee. MTX took some office space on top of the Bowtie Theater. They play in the AI world and a real technology-based company. We have a bunch of offshoots or suppliers to GE that are taking space, whether in downtown or in some of our business parks, to build different components to these giant wind turbines they're there. So people should keep, if they're looking for a career opportunity. That's one. You can build a place where people want to be, so they're here, and then you got a great workforce. But we have these jobs here that they're looking to get filled, and so people should. We want people who are living here to get those jobs first, and they should do their best to learn about them, and follow our website, follow our social media, because we try to keep all this good news out in public as much as possible.
Yeah, and as we wrap up, how can people follow you guys? Where do they find you, and what's your social media handles?
So SchenectadyMetroplex.com, I think .org as well. We are on Facebook, where I think we're most active. We're on Instagram. We're on X, I think it's called now. I'm old.
Yeah, I'm not. You don't look it.
I'm older. I'm old at heart. I read the paper. But and the Daily Gazette covers a lot of what we're doing. We appreciate that. And so people, if you ever have any questions, they can always call our office. Again, we want people that are here to see these opportunities as opportunities for them, whether it's in the housing world, for the land bank. There's some great opportunities there to maybe either get in. We have the old Elmer School is being converted to senior apartments.
I've seen that renovation. That's pretty cool.
It is saving these old schools.
Yeah.
We've been very lucky to do that with housing. We want to make sure our local seniors are the first to apply for that if they're looking to age out of their home, single family, two family, because we want a new family to backfill that home and let people stay in the neighborhood. So, whether it's housing opportunities, whether it's job opportunities, whether it's development opportunities, we kind of have our hand in all of it. And, you follow what's going on. I always, tell contractors as well, I want to work on these projects. I'm going to do that. Follow the news releases, follow us on social media. And then, we will make sure that, we're doing our best to get Schenectady-based contractors working on these projects.
And for facility's sake, the land bank announcements are in the same place. You only have to go one place, Metroplex website, Facebook. We always talk about our accomplishments and what we're working on there.
That's a unified team. We try to keep it all in one place.
That's it. I'm moving to Schenectady.
You're not here yet?
Yeah. I'm still in Albany.
We love our regional partners. We really, we have tremendous leadership, and it's a great team to be part of. And hope people understand how hard we're working and how appreciative we are of their support of everything, of cheerleading what's going on in Schenectady.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for your time. You guys have been fabulous in regards to giving us information about the city of Schenectady, and the work you guys are doing is impeccable. So,
well, thank you for having us. It's great to share this.
Thank you both for doing this. It's great to give people another avenue to learn more about what we're doing, and it's nice to have you guys as such cheerleaders for the city as well.
One of the self-promoting things that I'm going to put in here is a lot of the stuff you talked about have been in the previous stuff. Like we've had Nora come in with zoning. You talked about zoning changes. We talked about that. It's just really cool how when you dive a little deeper, how small the pool is that we swim in. And it's really cool that that we had the opportunity today to sit down with you guys. So
yeah, we appreciate Maurice putting all this together. A lot of people are working really hard at City Hall, and we're often the ones being like, we need something. Can you help us? It is that it feels a little bit like a family. We're all trying to work together, and we appreciate it.
Cool. I need to race you in the pool. I think I got you. But thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you.
Chickens and trolleys.